The 1980s, the decade when Formula One cars weren't just machines, they were monsters. Turbocharged beasts that screamed louder than your eardrums could handle, and sometimes exploded just as easily. But which one truly ruled the decade? From a fire-breathing Brabham BT52 to the unstoppable McLaren MP4/4. Today, we're ranking every single F1 car of the 1980s from worst to legendary. So buckle up, because this is the era of danger, drama, and pure driving skill. No power steering, no mercy, just raw mechanical madness. And trust me, your favorite car might not make it to the top. Alfa Romeo 179 was Alfa's bold attempt to re-establish itself as a force in Formula One after years away from the top. Debuting in 1979, it featured a powerful 3.0-liter V12 engine that produced one of the most unforgettable sounds of its era. The car looked the part, low, sleek, and unmistakably Italian. But beneath its beauty lay deep technical flaws. Its ground effect aerodynamics were inconsistent, the chassis unstable, and reliability constantly under threat. Drivers like Bruno Giacomelli and Patrick DePaler pushed it to its limits, and at moments, such as Giacomelli's stunning pole at Watkins Glen in 1980, it showed flashes of brilliance that hinted at what might have been. Yet the 179 ultimately became a story of unrealized potential. Against the advancing designs of Lotus, Williams, and Brabham, Alfa's car could not match pace or consistency. Despite endless revisions, its balance and dependability never reached championship standards. Still, it remains one of the most evocative cars of its time, remembered for its raw sound, passion, and the courage of Alfa Romeo's engineers who refused to give up. The 179 may not have delivered victories, but embodied the spirit of Italian racing, bold, emotional, and beautifully flawed. The Aero's A3 was one of the most underrated Formula One cars in the early 1980s, a machine that never won, but quietly earned respect for its balance, simplicity, and reliability. Designed by Tony Southgate for the 1980 season, it ran with a dependable Cosworth DFE engine, at a time when most frontrunners were shifting toward turbo power. The A3's aluminum monocoque chassis and clean aerodynamics made it stable and predictable, especially on fast circuits where many ground effect cars struggle for control. While it lacked the outright speed to challenge Williams or Brabham, its precision and drivability allowed Riccardo Patrese and Johan Mass to extract consistent midfield results, including several top 5 finishes. What made the Aero's A3 memorable was how much it achieved with so little. The team's budget was modest, its facilities smaller than the giants of grid, yet the A3's engineering was remarkably solid. It stayed competitive across multiple seasons, an unusual feat for a privateer car in such a turbulent technological era. Its straightforward design allowed for easy updates, and its handling was often praised by drivers who found confidence behind the wheel. Though it never captured a victory or a podium, the Aero's A3 became a symbol of clever, efficient design and the determination of smaller teams to fight above their weight. In an age defined by excess and experimentation, it stood as a quiet testament to sound engineering and resilience. The ATS D3 was a bold but troubled entry in the fiercely competitive world of early 1980s Formula One. Built by the small German outfit ATS in the 1980 season, the car was designed by Nigel Stroud and powered by the reliable Cosworth DFE engine, which was still the choice for many independent teams before the turbo era took over. The D3 looked promising on paper, featuring a ground effect chassis meant to generate strong downforce and improve cornering performance. However, the team's limited resources and rushed development left the car far from its potential. It was often unstable, unpredictable under braking, and lacked the aerodynamic refinement of rivals like Williams, Brabham, or Lotus. Despite its struggles, the ATS D3 showed moments of determination, especially in the hands of drivers like Mark Schurer, who pushed the car harder than its design seemed to allow. The team's ambition outpaced its funding, and reliability issues constantly undermined any progress. Engine failures, chassis flex, and setup inconsistencies plagued nearly every race weekend. Yet, in its failures, the D3 represented the courage of small constructors who refused to give up, even when competing against much stronger and richer teams. Though the D3 never scored points or left a lasting mark on the standings, It remains a reflection of the grit and passion that defined the underdogs of early 1980s Formula One. A car built more on belief and success, and remembered for its sheer will to compete. The Brabham BT49 was one of the most refined and intelligent Formula One designs of its time, marking the perfect bridge between the pure ground effect era and the turbo age that followed. Introduced late in 1979 and developed through 1980 and 1981, it was the brainchild of Gordon Murray, one of F1's most creative engineers, with a naturally aspirated Cosworth DFE engine powering it. The BT49 faced an uphill battle against turbocharged rivals, yet its lightweight chassis, balanced aerodynamics, and superb handling made it fiercely competitive. Nelson Piquet mastered it beautifully, taking the 1981 World Championship, and proving that precision engineering and clever design could still overcome brute horsepower. What made the BT49 special was its elegance and adaptability. Murray's design emphasized simplicity and perfect weight distribution, allowing the car to perform consistently on all kinds of circuits. Its aerodynamics generated just enough ground effect without compromising stability, and its reliability gave Brabham an edge in a season filled with mechanical failures elsewhere. Even as the turbo revolution gathered pace, the BT49 stood its ground, showing that a well-balanced car with a skilled driver could still triumph through finesse rather than force. In the broader story of Formula One, the BT49 is remembered not only as a championship winner, but as the last great success of the classic Cosworth era, a car that embodied engineering brilliance, driver skill, and the spirit of innovation that defined Brabham at its best. The Ferrari 312T5 marked the end of an era, a car that carried the fading glory of the team's once dominant flat 12 legacy into a new and unforgiving decade. By 1980, the 312T design, which had powered Niki Lauda and Jody Scheckter titles just a few years earlier, had become outdated. Its wide flat, 12-engine limited ground effect aerodynamics, leaving Ferrari at a serious disadvantage against the slimmer, more advanced cars from Williams and Brabham. The T5 was heavy, unpredictable, and unreliable, managing only a handful of points across the season. For a team like Ferrari, it was a humiliating fall from grace, signaling that the old formula had run its course. The defeat was painful, but it sparked something vital, an awakening that Ferrari needed to completely reinvent itself for the turbocharged future. That rebirth came with the Ferrari 126C, a bold leap into the turbo era that began in 1981. Its 1.5-liter V6 turbo engine was brutally powerful, producing immense straight-line speed and signaling Ferrari's technical resurgence. But the early 126C was wild and difficult to control, its handling undermined by laggy turbo response and tricky aerodynamics. It took years of refinement before the concept matured, but by 1982 the 126C2 was finally competitive, delivering pole positions, wins, and a Constructors' Championship before tragedy struck with the loss of Gilles Villeneuve and the career-ending crash of Didier Pironi. Together, the 312T5 and 126C tell a story of transformation. Ferrari's painful fall from dominance followed by its courageous rebirth into a new technological age, driven by the same relentless pursuit of speed that has always defined the Scuderia. The Ligier JS11 was one of the great surprises of late 1970s Formula One, a car that briefly made the small French team a genuine title contender. Designed by Gérard Ducarouge and Michel Beaujon from the 1979 season, the JS11 fully embraced the new ground effect revolution pioneered by Lotus. With its sculpted side pods and Venturi tunnels, it generated immense downforce, allowing drivers Jacques Laffite and Patrick Depailler to dominate early in the season. The car's combination of powerful Ford Cosworth DFE engine, balanced aerodynamics, and nimble chassis made it blisteringly quick on tight circuits like Girona and Interlagos, where it took back-to-back victories. For a moment, Ligier looked unstoppable, a French team leading Formula One with French drivers and Michelin tires, carrying a sense of national pride and technical confidence. But the same force that made the JS11 fast also made it fragile. Its ground effect system produced so much downforce that the car flexed under pressure, upsetting balance and wearing out components. As rivals refined their own designs and solved the stability issues that plagued early ground effect cars, Ligier struggled to maintain consistency. By mid-season, the JS11's advantage had vanished and reliability woes set in. Despite that, the car remains one of the most iconic machines of its time, a symbol of how bold engineering and creativity could briefly shake the established order. The Ligier JS11's short-lived dominance captured the magic and madness of Formula One's most experimental era, proving that even a small, passionate team could build a car capable of frightening the giants. The Lotus 81 represented both ambition and uncertainty for a team trying to reclaim the dominance it once held. Debuting in 1980, it followed the legendary Lotus 79, the car that had revolutionized Formula One with ground effect. But times had changed and the competition had caught up. The 81, designed by Colin Chapman and Martin Ogilvy, carried the same design philosophy but lacked the subtle aerodynamic precision of its predecessor. It was lighter, stiffer, and powered by the trusty Ford Cosworth DFE engine, yet its ground effect tunnels were less efficient than those on the Williams FW07 or Ligier JS11. Drivers Mario Andretti, Elio De Angelis, and Nigel Mansell wrestled with a car that could be fast on smooth circuits but unpredictable on bumpy ones. Still, the 81 delivered flashes of form. De Angelis' podiums and Andretti's qualifying pace showed there was life left in Lotus's ideas. Even the execution no longer frightened rivals. By contrast, the Lotus 86 was something entirely different. An experimental machine built to push the rules and technology as far as Chapman dared. Developed in 1980 but never raced competitively, the 86 was a daring testbed for what would later become the Lotus 88. It featured a twin chassis concept, separating the aerodynamic and suspension functions. One chassis to create massive ground effect suction, the other to protect the driver from the bone-shaking ride. On paper, it was genius. In reality, it was too clever for its time. The FIA rejected it as illegal, fearing it violated the spirit of the regulations. Yet the 86 remains one of Lotus's boldest creations, a car that embodied Chapman's restless imagination. Together, the Lotus 81 and 86 captured the team's transition from dominance to experimentation, a period defined by brilliance, frustration, and the unyielding belief that innovation was worth any risk. The McLaren M29 arrived at a difficult moment for the team, a period of transition when McLaren's once dominant form was fading and the new ground effect era was rewriting Formula One design rules. Introduced late in 1979, the M29 was designed by Gordon Koppuk and powered by the reliable Ford Cosworth DFE engine. On paper, it was competent, but in practice, it was outclassed by the revolutionary Williams, Lotus, and Ligier cars that mastered ground effect aerodynamics far better. The M29 side pods and Venturi tunnels didn't generate enough downforce, making it twitchy and inconsistent through corners. John Watson and Patrick Tambay did their best, occasionally managing decent qualifying results, but the car lacked the speed and stability to challenge at the front. It was a solid, honest machine that represented McLaren's determination to keep fighting, but also a clear sign that the team needed a major rethink to remain competitive. The M30, which followed in 1980, was a refined and lighter evolution rather than a true revolution. Koppuk and his team made improvements to aerodynamics, suspension geometry, and weight distribution, hoping to close the gap to the top teams. It handled better and showed flashes of progress. But the M30 was still fundamentally limited by outdated design principles as the turbo era loomed on the horizon. Despite its struggles, these cars played an important role in McLaren's story. They bridged the gap between the team's declining 1970s form and its rebirth under Ron Dennis and John Barnett a year later. Within a season, McLaren would unveil the carbon fiber MP4/1, a car that changed F1 forever. In that sense, the M29 and M30 marked the final chapter of McLaren's traditional engineering era, a period of frustration that quietly paved the way for the team's next great leap forward. The Renault RE20 was a defining car of Formula One's turbocharged awakening, the moment when the sport realized how much power could be unleashed from a small engine under pressure. Introduced for the 1980 season, it was an evolution of Renault's earlier turbo experiments, now refined into a genuine race winner. Powered by a 1.5-liter V6 turbo engine, the RE20 produced astonishing power, often exceeding 500 horsepower in race trim, and gave Renault a clear straight-line advantage over traditional Cosworth-powered teams. Its sleek yellow and white body had a sophisticated aerodynamic design that balanced the massive heat demands of the turbo system with the need for downforce. Driven by Jean-Pierre Jabouille and René Arnoux, the RE20 captured Renault's first consistent run of success, including victories in Austria and Brazil, proving that the turbo era had truly arrived. Yet for all its brilliance, the RE20 was a car of contradictions. When the turbos worked, it was untouchable. When they didn't, it was a nightmare. Turbo lag made power delivery unpredictable, and reliability often crumbled under the immense stress of heat and pressure. Still, the RE20's achievements went beyond results. It marked the point where innovation began to reshape Formula One's future. Renault had endured years of skepticism since debuting the concept in 1977, but by 1980, the doubters were silent. The RE20 showed that smaller, more efficient engines could outperform the old V8s, and every major team soon followed. It was loud, temperamental, and at times fragile, but it changed the sport forever. A machine that turned experimentation into revolution and transformed Formula One's technological landscape for decades to come. The Williams FW07B was a car that turned Williams from a determined challenger into a true Formula One powerhouse. Introduced for the 1980 season as an evolution of the FW07, it was Patrick Head's masterful refinement of the ground effect concept that Lotus had pioneered. Where Lotus had been innovative, Williams was disciplined. Head's design focused on efficiency, simplicity, and consistency rather than complexity. The FW07B's sleek aluminum chassis, clean aerodynamics, and powerful Ford Cosworth DFE engine combined to create a car that was fast, stable, and remarkably easy to set up. Its ground effect tunnels produced massive downforce without the unpredictable handling that plagued many rivals, giving Alan Jones and Carlos Reutemann the confidence to push hard on every circuit. The result was domination. 5 victories, a driver's championship for Jones, and Williams' first constructor's title. What made the FW07 be exceptional wasn't just its speed, it was its balance and reliability. It could handle fast corners, bumpy tracks, and long races with equal composure, traits that set the standard for the next generation of F1 design. Unlike some of the more fragile ground effect machines, the FW07B was built tough, and it rarely broke down. It became the car to beat in 1980 and remained competitive well into the following seasons. Beyond its victories, the FW07B symbolized the rise of a new kind of Formula One team, professional, methodical, and technically precise. It marked the beginning of Williams' golden era and showed that success in modern F1 wasn't just about innovation. It was about perfecting every detail until the car became more than a machine, a seamless extension of the driver's skill and the engineer's vision. The Alfa Romeo 179D was a final and most developed version of Alfa's 179 series, a car that carried both the weight of ambition and the scars of frustration. Introduced in 1981 as a mid-season upgrade, it was meant to address the instability and inconsistency that had haunted the original 179. The team refined the chassis, reworked the suspension, and slightly modified the aerodynamics to better harness the power of Alfa's 3.0-liter V12 engine, a magnificent, thunderous unit that delivered tremendous speed on the straights but remained heavy and thirsty. Drivers Bruno Giacomelli and Mario Andretti did their best to tame the car, and in qualifying trim, the 179D could flash moments of brilliance. At Las Vegas and Monza, it showed real pace, proving that Alfa still had engineering potential. But over a full race distance, the car's flaws resurfaced. Unreliable, difficult under braking, and too physically demanding to handle for long stints. The 179D marked the end of an era for Alfa Romeo's Formula One Works effort before the 182 took over. It reflected the classic Alfa paradox, an engine with soul and power paired with chassis that couldn't quite contain it. The team's resources and organization lagged behind rivals like Williams and Brabham, who were evolving rapidly in aerodynamics and construction. Still, the 179D carried a certain romantic defiance. It was built not just with engineering ambition, but with passion, a belief that raw horsepower and Italian heart could still triumph in a changing sport. While it never fulfilled its promise, it remains a symbol of Alfa's fight to stay relevant during one of F1's most competitive eras, a car that roared with intensity, even if it rarely saw the checkered flag. Aero's A4 was a careful evolution of one of Formula One's most honest and well-balanced midfield machines. Introduced in 1982, it was developed from the successful RE and designed by Dave Wass to adapt to the new regulations that restricted ground effect aerodynamics. The A4 kept the same Ford Cosworth DFE engine that had powered Aeros for years, and while it lacked the explosive power of the new turbo engines from Renault, Ferrari, and Brabham, it remained a precise and dependable car. Its aluminum monocoque chassis and simplified aerodynamics gave it stable handling, making it predictable in corners and easy on tires, a vital advantage in a season when many teams struggled to adapt to changing rules. With Riccardo Patrese behind the wheel, the A4 often punched above its weight, scoring consistent finishes and showing flashes of speed on technical circuits where raw power mattered less. What set the A4 apart was its reliability and balance in an increasingly unstable Formula One landscape. Aeros didn't have the budget or technology of the frontrunners, but it had engineering discipline and a car that behaved well under pressure. The A4 wasn't flashy, but it embodied the grit of privateer teams that defined much of early 1980s F1. Competitors who survived through precision and perseverance rather than sheer innovation. It marked the end of Aero's naturally aspirated era before the team, like many others, was forced to embrace turbo power. Though it never threatened for wins, the A4 symbolized the quiet professionalism of a team that made the most of what it had, a car that may not have changed the sport, but earned respect by simply doing everything right, even in a time when right was rarely enough. The Brabham BT49C was a masterclass in evolution, a finely tuned version of an already brilliant car that showed how engineering precision could still triumph amid Formula One's technological chaos. Introduced for the 1982 season, it was Gordon Murray's further development of the championship-winning BT49 that had carried Nelson Piquet to the 1981 World Championship. The C version adapted the design to new regulations that limited ground effect and banned sliding skirts, forcing teams to rethink how they generated downforce. Murray's response was clever rather than radical. He refined the suspension geometry, lightened the chassis, and improved airflow under the car to maintain as much grip as possible. Powered by the trusty Ford Cosworth DFE, the BT49C remained one of the most balanced and responsive cars on the grid. Quick through corners, forgiving on tires, and always competitive in the hands of a confident driver. Yet 1982 was a chaotic season, filled with politics, mechanical failures, and tragedy, and even the BT49C couldn't escape the turmoil. Brabham's decision to alternate between the proven DFE and the new BMW turbo engine created inconsistency, and reliability issues began to creep in as the team pushed its limits. Still, when everything aligned, Piquet and Riccardo Patrese showed that the BT49C could run with the very best, its pure mechanical grip and handling finesse often outshining more powerful rivals. The car represented the last great chapter of the naturally aspirated era before the turbos took over completely. In many ways, the BT49C was Formula One engineering at its most elegant. No gimmicks, no excess, just a perfect balance of simplicity, speed, and control. It stood as a quiet masterpiece in season chaos, a reminder that brilliance doesn't always shout. It simply performs. The Ferrari F1 was one of the most powerful yet tragic cars in Formula One history, a machine that embodied both the rebirth of Ferrari's competitiveness and the immense risks of early turbo technology. Introduced for the 1982 season, it was a complete reimagining of Ferrari's previous turbo cars, featuring a lighter monocoque chassis, designed by Harvey Postlethwaite, and a refined 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine. This engine was brutally fast, producing enormous straight-line speed and giving Ferrari the power advantage it had been chasing for years. On circuits like Long Beach and Imola, the F126C2's acceleration and stability made it a serious title contender, especially in the hands of Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. After several seasons of struggle, Ferrari was suddenly back at the sharp end, aggressive, innovative, and confident. But the F126C2's story is one of triumph shadowed by tragedy. In May 1982, Villeneuve was killed during qualify at Zolder, and just months later Pironi suffered a career-ending crash at Hockenheim while leading the championship. Both accidents left deep scars on the team, and Ferrari withdrew from the final races of the year, despite being in contention for both titles. Still, the 126C2 had proven its worth. It was fast, competitive, and a symbol of Ferrari's technical resurgence in the turbo era. Its blend of raw power, striking beauty, and fragility made it unforgettable. In the years that followed, its design principles evolved into the 126C3 and beyond, helping Ferrari remain a frontrunner through the mid-1980s. The 126C2 will always be remembered not just for its victories, but for the emotion and loss that surrounded it. A car that captured both the glory and the danger of Formula One at its most intense. The Ligier JS17 marked a turning point for the French team, a car that tried to recapture the magic of its late 1970s success while adapting to more demanding and politically charged Formula One world of the early 1980s. Introduced in the 1981 season, it was designed by Michel Beaujon under the technical direction of Gérard Ducrouge and powered by the naturally aspirated Matra V12, one of the last of its kind in the grid, increasingly dominated by turbo engines. The JS17 was a handsome, low-slung car with smooth aerodynamics and refined ground effect tunnels, and in the hands of Jacques Laffite and Jean-Pierre Lebouille, it quickly proved competitive. Laffite's podium finishes in Belgium and Austria, along with a win at the Austrian Grand Prix, showed that Ligier could still challenge the frontrunners when everything came together. The V12 engine, though heavier and thirstier than the Cosworth or turbo units, gave the car a uniquely rich sound and a broad power band that suited high-speed tracks. Despite its promise, the JS17 was fragile and inconsistent. The Matra engine's complexity and the team's limited resources made development difficult, and reliability issues kept it from mounting a sustained championship fight. By the time of its 1982 evolution, when Ligier switched to the Cosworth DFE engine and added technical refinements, the car remained quick but unpredictable, often competitive in qualifying, but unable to hold pace over long races. Even so, the JS17 carried the spirit of Ligier's ambition. Proudly French, beautifully engineered, and full of character, it represented the team's resilience during one of Formula One's most turbulent transitions and stands as one of the last truly distinctive V12 powered cars before turbo technology swept the sport. The JS17 may not have delivered titles, but it kept Ligier's name alive in an era when smaller teams were being pushed to the margins by power and politics. The Lotus 87 was born out of struggle, a car that reflected Colin Chapman's relentless ambition to innovate even as Lotus found itself falling behind the new generation of ground effect masters. Introduced in 1981, it was designed as a safer and more conventional alternative to banned twin-chassis Lotus 88. The 87 used a carbon fiber and Kevlar composite monocoque, an early attempt to embrace materials that would soon redefine Formula One, and was powered by the dependable Ford Cosworth DFE engine. Though technically advanced for its time, the 87 never quite fulfilled its promise. It was overweight, aerodynamically compromised by the FIA's new regulations, and lacked the sharp ground effect grip of rivals like the Williams FW07 or Brabham BT49. In the hands of Nigel Mansell and Elio De Angelis, it managed flashes of competitiveness, but it was clear that Lotus's innovative spirit had been constrained by changing rules and fading resources. The Lotus 91, which followed in 1982, was a quiet redemption, designed by Martin Ogilvy and Peter Wright. It was elegant, simple, and far more cohesive than its predecessors. Still powered by the Cosworth DFE, the 91 made better use of aerodynamics within the new flat-bottom regulations and featured a clean, efficient chassis that suited De Angelis' smooth driving style. It finally returned Lotus to winning ways when Angelis claimed victory at the Austrian Grand Prix, Lotus's first win since 1980. The car's balanced handling and predictable behavior restored some of the confidence that the team had lost during its turbulent years of experimentation. The 91 was a revolutionary, but it was a statement that Lotus could still compete through precision rather than radical ideas. Together, the 87 and 91 tell the story of a team transitioning from the chaos of failed innovation to the calm of refinement, a move from desperate genius to mature engineering, marking the last true spark of the Chapman era before the turbos changed everything. The McLaren MP4/1B was a car that truly announced McLaren's rebirth in the 1980s, a machine that combined cutting-edge technology with a new sense of purpose and professionalism under Ron Dennis's leadership. Introduced in 1982 as an evolution of the revolutionary MP4/1. It was the first Formula One car to use a full carbon fiber composite monocoque, a breakthrough that forever changed the sport. Designed by John Barnard, the MP4/1B was not only lighter and stiffer than its aluminum rivals, but also safer, offering drivers unprecedented protection in high-speed crashes. Its clean, minimal aerodynamic profile worked beautifully with a naturally aspirated Ford Cosworth DFV engine, which, though down on power compared to new turbo cars, was perfectly suited to the MP4/1B's balanced handling and reliability. Niki Lauda's comeback to F1 that year added star power to the team, and with John Watson's victories at Detroit and Zolder, McLaren emerged as a consistent frontrunner. What made the MP4/1B so important wasn't just its performance, it was its philosophy. McLaren had entered a new era of precision engineering and corporate professionalism, setting the foundation for the team's later dominance with Honda and Senna. The car's carbon fiber monocoque became the standard for every F1 team within a few years, proving that innovation could go hand in hand with consistency and safety. Though it never won a championship, the MP4/1B represented a fundamental shift in Formula One's technological landscape. It bridged the gap between the handmade artistry of the 1970s and the high-tech engineering of the modern age. Sleek, strong, and beautifully constructed, it was less a racing car and more a statement of intent. McLaren's quiet revolution that redefined what was possible in Grand Prix racing. The Williams FW07C represented the peak evolution of one of Formula One's most effective and finely balanced designs, a car that combined technical simplicity with race-winning precision. Introduced in the 1981 season, it was a final and most refined version of Patrick Head's original FW07 concept, itself a direct response to Lotus's pioneering ground effect cars. By the time the FW07C hit the track, the design was mature, well understood, and devastatingly effective. Its aluminum monocoque, ground effect underbody, and Cosworth DFV engine worked in perfect harmony, delivering a car that was both fast and forgiving. Alan Jones and Carlos Reutemann used it to great effect, with Reutemann leading much of the 1981 championship and taking victories in Brazil and Belgium, while the team consistently battled Brabham and Renault at the front. The FW07C's stability and traction made it a driver's car, responsive, predictable, and capable of extracting speed without the fragility that plagued more complex rivals. What made the FW07C truly special was its balance between innovation and practicality. While other teams chased radical designs, Williams focused on refinement and reliability, squeezing every ounce of performance from proven ideas. It was this philosophy that kept the FW07C competitive even as turbocharged engines began to dominate the conversation. The car's consistency helped secure Williams the Constructors' Championship in 1981, a testament to its engineering excellence and the team's discipline. Though it marked the end of the naturally aspirated ground effect era, the FW07C left a legacy of technical efficiency and teamwork that would define Williams for years to come. It wasn't the flashiest or most powerful car on the grid, but in many ways, it was the purest expression of what Formula One engineering should be: fast, focused, and utterly dependable. 1982, the Alfa Romeo 182 was a car built in the shadow of nostalgia and the pressure of expectation, a blend of Italian passion and technical experimentation that reflected Alfa's struggle to reclaim its former Formula One glory. Introduced in the 1982 season, it was designed by Gerard Ducrouge and Mario Tolentino, featuring a compact aluminum monocoque and a naturally aspirated 3.0-liter V12 engine. The car was light, responsive, and beautifully proportioned, with a distinctive red and white livery that carried the romance of Alfa's racing past. While the V12 lacked the brute force of the turbocharged Ferrari and Renault engines, it offered a smoother, more linear power delivery, giving the 182 a certain elegance on flowing circuits. Andrea de Cesaris, young and daring, extracted surprising pace in the car, securing pole position at Long Beach and finishing second in Monaco, one of Alfa's best results of the decade. Yet the 182 was a car of fleeting brilliance rather than lasting strength. Its V12 engine was thirsty and fragile, its aerodynamics less efficient than the leading turbo cars, and Alfa's reliability issues persisted throughout the season. Still, The 182 marked an improvement over its predecessors. It was lighter, more refined, and better balanced, hinting that the team was learning from its mistakes. The car's performance briefly reignited hope that Alfa could again challenge the frontrunners, even if only for moments of glory. In many ways, the 182 symbolized the last flicker of Alfa Romeo's competitive spirit before the team was consumed by the technical and financial realities of the turbo era. It wasn't a world beater, but it was unmistakably Alfa, emotional, beautifully built, and capable of brilliance on the right day. The Brabham BT50 marked Gordon Murray's bold leap into the turbo era, a car that embodied both the promise and the pain of early forced induction Formula One technology. Introduced in 1981 and raced through 1982, it was the first Brabham to use BMW's new 1.5-liter turbocharged inline-4 engine, an engineering marvel that could produce immense power but came with crippling unreliability. The BT50's aluminum monocoque and compact, ground effect layout were typically elegant Murray work, but taming the violent power delivery and heat of the BMW turbo proved a nightmare. When it worked, the car was blisteringly fast, especially in qualifying, but more often was undone by mechanical failures. Nelson Piquet and Riccardo Patrese wrestled with it throughout 1982. Their talent obvious, but their frustration equally so. The car hinted at greatness, but never delivered it consistently, illustrating just how demanding the turbo transition really was. Then, mid-1983, came the BT52, a clean break from the past and one of the most radical design shifts in Formula One history. With ground effects banned and BMW's turbo now refined and ferociously powerful, Murray started from scratch, creating a dart-like machine with a distinctive triangular side pod design and perfect weight distribution for the new regulations. The BT52 was lighter, simpler, and built around the massive power of the BMW M12/13 engine, now producing over 800 horsepower in race trim. The transformation was immediate. Nelson Piquet stormed to victory in Brazil and drove with measured brilliance throughout the season, capturing his second world championship and securing BMW's first as an engine supplier. The shift from the temperamental BT50 to the dominant BT52 within months was one of the most dramatic turnarounds in F1 history. It showed how quickly innovation and courage could rewrite a team's destiny. Proof that when Brabham and Murray found rhythm, they were unstoppable. The Ferrari 126C2B was a car born from recovery and remembrance, carrying the weight of tragedy and the determination to rebuild. Following the devastating 1982 season, which claimed the life of Gilles Villeneuve and ended Didier Pironi's career, the 1983 126C2B emerged as a careful evolution of its predecessor. Designed under the technical guidance of Harvey Postlethwaite and Mauro Forghieri, it retained the basic structure of the 126C2, but was modified to meet the new flat-bottom regulations, featuring revised aerodynamics, a lighter aluminum and carbon composite monocoque, and improved reliability. The 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine remained immensely powerful, delivering up to 800 horsepower in qualifying trim. But Ferrari's engineers worked to tame its brutal delivery and improve cooling efficiency. The result was a car that, while not as raw as the 1982 machine, was far more consistent and drivable, a necessary step in Ferrari's emotional and technical healing. Under the leadership of René Arnoux and Patrick Tambay, the 126C2B restored Ferrari's competitiveness and pride. Arnoux won in Canada and Germany. Tambay triumphed at Imola, and the team's collective effort earned Ferrari the 1983 Constructors' Championship, its first in 4 years. The 126C2B wasn't the fastest car on every circuit, but its reliability and power made it a constant threat, especially against the fuel-limited turbos of Renault and Brabham. It symbolized Ferrari's resilience, a team that had endured heartbreak, yet found the strength to rise again. Though overshadowed by the technological leaps that would follow with the 126C3 and the later 126C4, the 126C2B stands as one of the most emotionally charged cars in Ferrari history. It was not just a machine of speed, but survival, a red phoenix forged in the aftermath of loss, carrying the Scuderia back to glory through determination and spirit. The Ligier JS19 was a car caught between eras, representing both the lingering optimism of the ground effect age and the growing technical demands of Formula One's turbo revolution. Introduced for the 1982 season, it was designed by Michel Beaujon and Claude Galopin as a development of the JS17, but arrived at a time when the sports regulations were shifting beneath everyone's feet. Built around a reliable Ford Cosworth DFE engine, the JS19 featured a refined aluminum monocoque, clean aerodynamics, and carefully sculpted side pods aimed at maximizing downforce under the new restrictions on ground effects. However, by 1982, naturally aspirated cars were already falling behind the rising power of turbocharged rival from Ferrari, Renault, and Brabham. In the hands of Eddie Cheever and Jacques Lafitte, the JS19 showed flashes of potential, especially on tighter circuits, but a lack of outright power made consistent competitiveness impossible. Despite its limitations, the JS19 carried an undeniable sense of style and resilience. Ligier's cars had always embodied a distinctly French character, elegant, brave, and a little stubborn in their engineering choices. The JS19 maintained that spirit. Even as the team struggled with the realities of changing technology and reduced sponsorship, while it failed to score significant results, it served as a bridge between Ligier's once successful past and the more turbulent years to come. The car was beautifully built but outgunned, a victim of timing rather than effort. In many ways, the JS19 symbolized the end of an era for Ligier, one where craftsmanship and national pride still mattered more than raw power. It wasn't a winner, but it stood as a graceful farewell to the days when skill, not horsepower, was a measure of a racing team's soul. The Lotus 91 marked a brief but meaningful resurgence for Team Lotus, a car that proved refinement could still triumph in an age obsessed with innovation. Introduced in 1982 and designed by Martin Ogilvy and Peter Wright, the 91 was a return to elegance and simplicity after years of complex, rule-bending experiments. Built around a lightweight aluminum and carbon composite monocoque, it was powered by the ever-faithful Ford Cosworth DFE engine, and its aerodynamics were clean, balanced, and efficient. In the hands of Elio De Angelis, the 91 became a joyfully precise car, easy to drive and predictable at the limit. De Angelis' victory at the Austrian Grand Prix, holding off Keke Rosberg by mere hundredths of a second, was both emotional and symbolic. Lotus, after years of struggle, had found grace again. It wasn't the fastest car on the grid, but it was cohesive, elegant, and full of character, a machine that rewarded finesse over brute force. The Lotus 92, which followed in early 1983, was meant to be the next step, but instead revealed the limits of Lotus's resources in a fast-evolving era. It was the first F1 car to feature active suspension, a visionary idea decades ahead of its time. But the system was heavy, unreliable, and difficult to tune. Still powered by the aging DFE engine, the 92 lacked both the pace and dependability to challenge the turbocharged frontrunners. Its handling was inconsistent, and the complex hydraulics often left the drivers, De Angelis and Nigel Mansell, struggling with unpredictability rather than progress. Yet in retrospect, the 92 deserves admiration for its audacity. It pointed toward the future of F1 engineering, even if its execution fell short in the moment. Together, the 91 and 92 reflected Lotus's dual nature, one grounded in beauty and craft, the other reaching for innovation beyond its grasp. They were the last glimmers of Colin Chapman's legacy, one graceful, one restless, both unmistakably Lotus. The McLaren MP4/1C was a car that symbolized quiet strength and technical maturity, a machine that didn't break new ground like its predecessors, but perfected what McLaren had already pioneered. Introduced for the 1983 season, it was the final evolution of John Barnard's revolutionary carbon fiber monocoque design, first seen on the MP4/1. By this point, the concept had been refined into something truly formidable. Lightweight, incredibly rigid, and vastly safer than the aluminum chassis cars that still populated much of the grid. The MP4/1C retained a reliable Ford Cosworth DFE engine, making it one of the last competitive naturally aspirated cars in an increasingly turbo-dominated field. Its aerodynamics were sleek and efficient, and while it couldn't match the raw power of the Brabhams or Ferraris, it excelled in balance and durability. In the hands of John Watson and Niki Lauda, it became a model of consistency, quick enough to capitalize on chaos, and tough enough to finish when others faltered. Their reliability made the MP4/1C one of the quiet heroes of 1983. Watson's astonishing comeback win from 22nd on the grid at Long Beach and Lotus' victory at Brands Hatch were proof of how well the car worked when everything clicked. It wasn't the flashiest or most powerful machine, but had the refinement and confidence that defined McLaren's emerging identity under Ron Dennis. The MP4/1C was also the final chapter before McLaren's turbo era began with Tag Porsche power, a bridge between the purity of the DFE age and the technological might that would soon dominate Formula One. In many ways, it represented the best of both worlds. The craftsmanship of classic F1 design paired with the precision of the modern era. The MP4/1C may not have won championships, but it cemented McLaren's reputation as a team built on intelligence, innovation, and quiet excellence. The Renault RE30 was a car that cemented Renault's reputation as the pioneer of turbocharged Formula One power, turning the once ridiculed yellow teapot into a genuine title contender. Introduced in 1981 and refined into the dominant RE30B for 1982, it carried the essence of French engineering bravado, light, fast, and explosively powerful. Designed by Michel Tedu under the technical direction of Bernard Dudot, the RE30 featured a compact aluminum monocoque paired with Renault's groundbreaking 1.5-liter EF1 turbocharged V6 engine. When it worked, it was devastatingly quick, producing upwards of 580 horsepower in qualifying trim, and its acceleration left even the best Cosworth-powered cars gasping. Alain Prost, in only his second full F1 season, harnessed its speed with precision, winning in France, the Netherlands, and Italy in 1981, and emerging as a genuine threat to Brabham and Williams. The RE30's ground effect aerodynamics and responsive chassis gave Renault the tools to finally challenge for the championship. Yet for all its brilliance, the RE30 was undone by fragility. The turbo system, still in its experimental phase, was prone to overheating, lag, and failure, while the car's complex packaging made maintenance a nightmare. In 1982, with the refined RE30B, Prost once again came agonizingly close to the title before reliability betrayed him in the final races. Despite those heartbreaks, the RE30's influence on Formula One was enormous. It proved that turbocharging wasn't a gimmick, but the future of the sport. It pushed rivals like Ferrari, BMW, and Honda to follow suit, igniting the turbo revolution that defined the rest of the decade. The RE30 was fast, temperamental, and ahead of its time, a machine that embodied both the promise and peril of technological daring. It may not have won a championship, but it changed Formula One forever. Now, the Lotus 91 marked a brief but meaningful resurgence for Team Lotus, a car that proved refinement could still triumph in an age obsessed with innovation. Introduced in 1982 and designed by Martin Ogilvy and Peter Wright, the 91 was a return to elegance and simplicity after years of complex, rule-bending experiments. Built around a lightweight aluminum and carbon composite monocoque, it was powered by the ever-faithful Ford Cosworth DFE engine, and its aerodynamics were clean, balanced, and efficient. In the hands of Elio De Angelis, the 91 became a joyfully precise car, easy to drive and predictable at the limit. De Angelis' victory at the Austrian Grand Prix, holding off Keke Rosberg by mere hundredth of a second, was both emotional and symbolic. Lotus, after years of struggle, had found grace again. It wasn't the fastest car on the grid, but it was cohesive, elegant, and full of character, a machine that rewarded finesse over brute force. The Lotus 92, which followed in early 1983, was meant to be the next step, but instead revealed the limits of Lotus's resources in a fast-evolving era. It was the first F1 car to feature active suspension, a visionary idea decades ahead of its time. But the system was heavy, unreliable, and difficult to tune. Still powered by the aging DFE engine, the 92 lacked both the pace and dependability to challenge the turbocharged frontrunners. Its handling was inconsistent, and the complex hydraulics often left the drivers, De Angelis and Nigel Mansell, struggling with unpredictability rather than progress. Yet in retrospect, the 92 deserves admiration for its audacity. It pointed toward the future of F1 engineering, even if its execution fell short in the moment. Together, the 91 and 92 reflected Lotus's dual nature, one grounded in beauty and craft, the other reaching for innovation beyond its grasp. They were the last glimmers of Colin Chapman's legacy, one graceful, one restless, both unmistakably Lotus. The Renault RE30B was a car that brought Renault tantalizingly close to championship glory, the refined, brutally fast evolution of the team's groundbreaking turbocharged lineage. Introduced to the 1982 season, it was designed by Michel Tedu and Bernard Dudat as an improvement over the already potent RE30. With better aerodynamics, a stiffer chassis, and more responsive version of Renault's 1.5-liter EF1 turbocharged V6 engine, the RE30B was a masterpiece of raw power and precision, producing close to 600 horsepower in race trim, and even more during qualifying, when the turbos were allowed to run at full pressure. On high-speed circuits like Paul Ricard Zandvoort and Monza, it was devastatingly quick, often untouchable when the boost was right. In the hands of Alain Prost, who had come into his own as Renault's lead driver, the car delivered 4 victories in 1982 and made him a genuine title contender, leading the championship deep into the season. But for all its brilliance, the RE30B was haunted by the fragility that had always plagued Renault's early turbo program. The engine was powerful but temperamental, prone to failures under stress, and the complex fuel and cooling systems made reliability an elusive goal. Strategic missteps and mechanical issues cost Prost vital points, and by season's end, Renault's championship hopes slipped away. Yet the RE30B's legacy endures as one of the defining cars of the early turbo era, a symbol of bold innovation and the thin line between domination and disaster. It proved that turbocharging was not just the future, but the present, forcing every major team to follow suit. The RE30B was fast, volatile, and full of personality, an audacious French creation that came within a heartbeat of rewriting Formula One history. The Williams FW08 was a car that carried the last breath of Formula One's ground effect era and delivered a driver's championship through sheer balance, intelligence, and mechanical grace. Introduced to the 1982 season, it was designed by Patrick Head and Frank Durney as a more compact, refined evolution of the dominant FW07 lineage. Built around a lightweight aluminum monocoque and powered by the trusty Ford Cosworth DFE, the FW08 was a masterclass in simplicity and efficiency. By reducing weight, tightening packaging, and perfecting suspension geometry, Williams created a car that handled beautifully across all kinds of circuits. It wasn't the most powerful machine on the grid, especially against the turbocharged Ferraris and Renaults, but it was consistent, forgiving, and perfectly suited to the unpredictable chaos of the 1982 season. In the hands of Keke Rosberg, it became a weapon of opportunity. Rosberg's driving style, aggressive yet adaptable, was the perfect match for the FW08's balance and reliability. He won only one race that year in Switzerland, but his steady stream of points and podiums amid the season's turmoil earned him the World Championship. It was a triumph not of horsepower, but of harmony. Car, driver, and team working with quiet precision. The FW08 also represented the end of an era. Its ground effect design was soon outlawed, and Formula One would move into the age of flat bottoms and turbocharged excess. Yet, even as technology shifted, the FW08 remained a symbol of Williams' engineering purity, a car that extracted maximum performance from minimal means. It was not the most glamorous or powerful champion, but perhaps one of the most honest, a reminder that in Formula One, perfection is often found not in revolution, but in refinement. The Alfa Romeo 183T was a car contradiction, powerful yet erratic, ambitious yet flawed. A machine that captured both the promise and the frustration of Alfa's turbocharged Formula One experiment. Introduced in the 1983 season, it marked the team's full embrace of the turbo era under chief designer Gerard Ducrouge, before he departed mid-year. Built around a new aluminum monocoque and powered by the 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine developed by Auto Delta, the 183T produced immense power, over 650 horsepower in race trim, and more than 700 in qualifying, but lacked the reliability and composure to harness it consistently. In the hands of Andrea de Cesaris, the car was blisteringly fast on its day, scoring podiums in Germany and South Africa, but was also unpredictable and mechanically fragile. The aerodynamics, though sleek, generated instability at high speed, and the turbo system's aggressive boost delivery made the car difficult to control, especially on bumpy or low-grip circuits. The revised 183T2, introduced late in the season, sought to tame this wildness. It featured reworked aerodynamics, improved cooling, and a stiffer chassis, ironing out some of the original car's nervous behavior. With these updates, Alfa Romeo began to glimpse what could have been. A genuine contender had reliability and refinement matched the engine's raw strength. But the damage was already done. The team's momentum was lost, and its technical direction grew uncertain after Ducati's departure. Still, the 183T and its successor carried flashes of brilliance, proof that Alfa had the potential to fight at the sharp end when everything worked. It was a car that reflected the Italian spirit at its most vivid, audacious, passionate, and temperamental. The 183T never fulfilled its potential, but in its best moments, it reminded the racing world of Alfa's proud bloodline and its relentless, if chaotic, pursuit of speed. The Brabham BT52 was a revolution in motion, a car born from crisis and transformed into a symbol of technical audacity. Designed by Gordon Murray for the 1983 season, it emerged after the sudden ban on ground effect aerodynamics forced teams to start from scratch. Where others struggled to adapt, Brabham reinvented the formula. The BT52's dart-like profile, with its slim, elongated nose and truncated rear end, was a masterpiece of aerodynamic simplicity. Beneath its clean lines lay BMW's monstrous 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, capable of over 800 horsepower in race trim and exceeding 1,200 in qualifying. The car's lightweight construction, rear-biased weight distribution, and ferocious acceleration made it unlike anything on the grid, a missile that demanded precision and courage in equal measure. Nelson Piquet, calm and calculating, mastered its volatile power perfection, claiming the 1983 World Championship, the first ever one with a turbocharged engine. Yet the BT52 was not merely fast. It was a bold statement about the future of Formula One. While rivals clung to conventional designs, Murray's creation embraced the turbo era's extremes, pairing brute force with engineering elegance. The car's fragility was a constant threat. BMW's engine was temperamental, and the car's handling could turn vicious under boost. But when it worked, nothing could touch it. The BT52 embodied the essence of early 1980s innovation, fearless, experimental, and driven by genius. It wasn't just a Brabham triumph. It was a defining symbol of Formula One's transformation into the high-tech battlefield it would soon become. In a decade defined by excess and ambition, the BT52 stood as one of its purest and most brilliant expressions. The Ferrari 126C3 marked a turning point for Scuderia, a car that reflected both the lessons of past pain and the hunger for rebirth after tragedy. Introduced midway through the 1983 season, it replaced the 126C2B and represented Ferrari's first serious attempt at adapting to the new flat-bottom regulations that had outlawed full ground effect aerodynamics. Designed under Mauro Forghieri, the 126C3 featured a completely new carbon composite and aluminum honeycomb chassis, lighter, stiffer, and far more advanced than any previous Ferrari. Its compact design improved weight distribution and stability, while the 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine delivered a fearsome 700 horsepower in race trim and well over 800 in qualifying. The car's balance and power made it one of the most formidable machines of its time, particularly in the hands of Patrick Tambay and René Arnoux, both of whom scored victories and helped Ferrari secure the Constructors' Championship that year. But the 126C3 was also a car that revealed the tension between Ferrari's old-world passion and Formula One's new technological demands. It was fast, yes, but its turbo lag was brutal, its reliability uncertain, and its chassis, though a leap forward, still lacked the finesse of rivals like the Brabham BT52 or Renault RE40. Ferrari's power advantage often masked the car's rawness, but when the balance came together, it was unstoppable, as seen in dominant performances at Hockenheim and Zandvoort. The 126C3 didn't just win races. It restored Ferrari's pride, proving that the team could still lead in an era increasingly defined by innovation rather than instinct. It was a bridge between the brutal, fire-breathing turbos of the early 80s and the more refined machines that would follow, beautifully flawed, fiercely Italian, and unmistakably Ferrari. The Ligier JS23 was a car built at a crossroads, caught between the fading charm of the old Ligier spirit and the brutal reality of Formula One's turbocharged transformation. Designed by Michel Beaujon and Claude Galopin for the 1984 season, It was a continuation of Ligier's partnership with Renault, powered by the 1.5-liter EF4 turbocharged V6. On paper, the JS23 promised a resurgence, a clean, compact aluminum monocoque, updated aerodynamics to comply with the sport's ever-tightening regulations, and a potent turbo engine capable of over 700 horsepower. In practice, however, the car struggled to find balance. Its power delivery was unpredictable, turbo lag immense, and its chassis lacked the stiffness to manage the explosive output of the Renault engine. Andrea de Cesaris and Francois Hesnault wrestled with its twitchy handling all season, fighting a machine that could be quick over a single lap but rarely over a race distance. Despite its difficulties, the JS23 carried flashes of competitiveness on high-speed circuits. When the boost came on in conditions favored its setup, it showed genuine pace, hinting that Ligier still possessed engineering know-how beneath its rough edges. But reliability was poor, and internal team politics further undermined progress. The car's shortcomings were symptomatic of a small team trying to survive in an era dominated by manufacturer-backed giants. The JS23 was, in many ways, a symbol of Ligier's mid-'80s struggles. Technically ambitious but financially stretched, capable of brilliance in brief bursts but unable to sustain it. It stood as a reminder of how quickly Formula One had evolved. What had once been enough for underdogs like Ligier now demanded precision, funding, and power far beyond what passion alone could deliver. The Lotus 93T was a car transition, a bold but uneasy step into the turbocharged future for a team that had once defined Formula One innovation. Designed by Gerard Ducrouge and Martin Ogilvy for the 1983 season, it was Lotus's first fully turbo power machine, built around the Renault EF1 1.5-liter V6 engine. The car marked the end of Lotus's reliance on the aging Cosworth DFV and the beginning of its partnership with Renault, a shift that demanded an entirely new design philosophy. The 93T featured a compact aluminum and carbon fiber monocoque, revised aerodynamics to cope with the loss of full ground effect, and an early iteration of the Renault turbo package that promised immense power, over 650 horsepower and race trim. In theory, it had all the ingredients of a return to glory. In practice, it was a difficult, twitchy, and overweight car that arrived before Lotus truly understood how to manage the complexity of turbo power. Elio De Angelis and Nigel Mansell did their best to tame its wild nature, but the 93T proved inconsistent, plagued by turbo lag, fragile reliability, and a chassis that struggled to handle the sudden surge of power. Still, the car's importance lay not in its results, of which there were few, but in the lessons it provided. It served as a vital testbed for the far more successful 94T that followed later that same season, where Ducrouge's refinements transformed potential into performance. The 93T may not have been a winner, but it represented Lotus rediscovering its technical courage after years of decline. It was a car that bridged eras, clumsy yet courageous, experimental yet essential, proof that even legends must stumble before they rise again. The McLaren MP4/1E was a fascinating hybrid, part evolution, part experiment, marking McLaren's first real exploration into turbocharged power. Introduced late in the 1983 season, it was a transitional version of John Barnard's revolutionary carbon fiber MP4/1 chassis, adapted to house a new tag Porsche turbo engine that would define McLaren's dominance in the years to come. The E stood for experimental, and that's precisely what it was, a prototype designed to gather data and prove that the lightweight carbon monocoque could successfully accommodate the high heat pressure and torque of a turbocharged power unit. Niki Lauda and John Watson both drove it, using the car primarily as a test platform rather than a race-winning contender. The MP4/1 retained the clean, rigid structure that had made the original MP4/1 such a landmark in safety and design, but integrating the new turbo engine exposed challenges in cooling, balance, and power delivery that the team had to solve before launching its next-generation car, although it never scored major results. The MP4/1's importance cannot be overstated. It was a bridge between the Cosworth-powered McLarens of the past and the turbocharged masterpieces of the future, paving the way for the championship-winning MP4/2 that followed in 1984. The car embodied McLaren's methodical, engineering-driven approach to progress, less about spectacle, more about precision and preparation. In a decade where many teams stumbled to the transition to turbo power, McLaren used the MP4/1 to learn quietly, deliberately, and effectively. It was a car that sacrificed short-term success for long-term greatness, a test mule that helped ignite one of Formula One's most dominant eras. The Renault RE40 was a car that came closest to fulfilling Renault's early turbocharged dream, a brilliant, beautifully engineered machine that nearly delivered a world championship. Designed by Bernard Dudot and Jean-Claude Ligier for the 1983 season, it was Renault's first full carbon fiber monocoque, a technological leap that finally brought the team in line with McLaren's pioneering design. Lighter, stiffer, and far more responsive than its predecessors, the RE40 paired this advanced chassis with the latest evolution of Renault's 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine, producing around 650 horsepower in race trim and over 800 in qualifying. The car was sleek and compact, with distinctive yellow and black livery and refined aerodynamics that made it one of the most elegant and effective designs on the grid. In the hands of Alain Prost, it was devastatingly quick, winning 4 races and carrying him to the brink of the 1983 Drivers' Championship. But the RE40's brilliance was matched by heartbreak. The car's speed was unquestionable, yet reliability haunted Renault when it mattered most. Turbo failures, electrical issues, and fragility under pressure robbed Prost of crucial points in the final stretch, allowing Nelson Piquet's Brabham BMW to snatch the title. Still, the RE40 represented the peak of Renault's early turbo era, a car that combined raw power with sophisticated engineering, years ahead of many rivals. It showcased how far the French team had come, not only as innovators but as true contenders. Though it fell just short of ultimate victory, the RE40's legacy endures as one of the great what-ifs of 1980s Formula One, a car of stunning potential, poetic speed, and tragic timing. The Williams FW08B was one of the most extraordinary Formula One cars never to race, a glimpse into a future so radical that the sport itself had to stop it. Built in 1983 as an experimental development of the title-winning FW08, the FW08B was Williams' attempt to exploit every remaining loophole in the regulations before active suspension and ground effect technologies were fully outlawed. It featured 6 wheels, for small, driven rear wheels tucked closely together and 2 normal-sized fronts. The design aimed to reduce drag, improve traction, and keep the airflow over the rear wing cleaner, all while enhancing mechanical grip through increased contact with the road. Powered by the dependable Ford Cosworth DFE engine and built around the proven aluminum monocoque of the FW08, the car was reportedly both stable and astonishingly quick during testing, fast enough to alarm both rivals and regulators. The FIA swiftly intervened, banning 6-wheel cars before the FW08B could make its competitive debut, citing cost and complexity concerns, but in truth, fear of performance advantage it promised. The car thus became a legend of what might have been a brilliant, rule-bending expression of engineering imagination at the twilight of the Cosworth era. Its existence reflected Williams' relentless innovation even before the team entered its turbocharged dominance with Honda engines. The FW08B was more than a curiosity. It was a reminder of how daring Formula One once was, when designers pushed boundaries not for spectacle, but for speed itself. Even without turning a wheel in anger, it remains one of the most fascinating lost masterpieces of the sport. A car too clever, too fast, and too far ahead of its time to be allowed to exist. The Alfa Romeo 184T was a car burdened by potential it could never fully realize, a product of ambition colliding with the harsh technical realities of mid-1980s Formula One. Designed by Gerard Ducruz before his departure and completed by Mario Tolentino and Luigi Marmaroli for the 1984 season, it represented Alfa's continued pursuit of competitiveness in the turbo era. The 184T was built around a lightweight carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, powered by the 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine developed by Autodelta, now producing close to 750 horsepower in race trim. On paper, it had all the ingredients of a strong contender: improved aerodynamics, a tighter packaging of the power unit, and more refined chassis than its predecessor, the 183T. In reality, it was plagued by inconsistency. The car's handling was nervous, its turbo response unpredictable, its reliability a constant concern. Drivers Riccardo Patrese and Eddie Cheever extracted moment of speed, but the car too often betrayed them with mechanical failures and erratic power delivery. Despite these frustrations, the 184T was not without merit. It represented a genuine step forward in engineering sophistication for Alfa Romeo, particularly in chassis design and aerodynamic efficiency. When held together, it could be competitive. Patrise's strong showings at races like Monza proved that the car had inherent pace. Yet the 184T was also a symbol of a team stretched too thin, struggling to match the might of McLaren, Ferrari, and Brabham, whose resources dwarfed Alfa's own. By the end of the season, it was clear that passion and tradition alone could not sustain success in the turbo age. The 184T embodied Alfa Romeo's last real push as a factory team in Formula One. A beautiful, temperamental machine that burned brightly in brief flashes, but faded just as quickly. It stood as both an elegy to Alfa's storied past and a testament to how brutally unforgiving the sport had become. The Aero's A6 was a car that reflected quiet determination in an age of excess. A reminder that clever engineering and perseverance could still matter, even when the Formula One world was being swept away by turbocharged power. Introduced for the 1983 season and designed by Dave Wass, the A6 was the final naturally aspirated Aeros to race before the team joined the turbo revolution. It featured a clean, compact aluminum monocoque and relied on the venerable Ford Cosworth DFE V8 engine, producing around 500 horsepower, significantly less than the 700 plus of the turbo cars it faced. Despite this handicap, the A6 was one of the most well-balanced chassis of its era. Its handling was precise and predictable, its aerodynamics tidy, and its mechanical grip surprisingly strong on tighter, twistier circuits. In the hands of Thierry Boutsen and Mark Schur, the car occasionally punched above its weight, securing respectable finishes against far more powerful opposition. The A6's virtues lay in simplicity and reliability. While the turbo cars battled over heating, fuel consumption, and sudden bursts of power, the Aeros offered its drivers consistency and confidence. It may have lacked the drama of a Brabham BT52 or Ferrari F1 but it was an honest, beautifully sorted machine, a car that performed as designed without tricks or excess. Yet the writing was on the wall. By 1984, the DFE engine was hopelessly outdated, and the A6 became a relic of a vanishing era. Still, its composure and durability helped keep Aeros afloat through one of Formula One's most turbulent technical transitions. The A6 wasn't a race winner, but it embodied the grit and quiet intelligence that defined the team, a car built not for glory, but for survival, and in that, it succeeded admirably. The Brabham BT53 was a car that embodied both brilliance and burden, a stunningly fast but temperamental machine that showcased extremes amid 1980s Formula One engineering. Designed by Gordon Murray for the 1984 season, it carried forward the legacy of the World Championship, winning BT52, but in a world where turbo technology had become fiercer, more complex, and unforgiving. Built around a refined carbon and aluminum monocoque, the BT53 housed a fearsome BMW M12/13 turbocharged four-cylinder engine, capable of producing over 800 horsepower in race trim and reportedly exceeding 1,200 in qualifying trim. It was a brutal, explosive power unit, light, immensely strong, but notoriously difficult to tame. The car's packaging was tight, its aerodynamics clean and low slung, and its suspension designed to manage both the immense power and the era's restrictive fuel limits. In the hands of Nelson Piquet, it could be devastatingly quick, but it was also fragile, unpredictable, and too often betrayed by reliability issues. The 1984 season revealed both the genius and the limits of Brabham's approach. The BT53 was a masterpiece of technical daring. Murray's obsession with minimizing drag and maximizing efficiency pushed the car to the edge of what was physically possible. Yet the combination of the volatile BMW engine and fragile components meant the car rarely completed races unscathed. Piquet managed 3 victories and several front row starts, proving that when everything worked, the BT53 was among the fastest cars in the world. But over the long haul, it was simply too fragile to challenge McLaren's dominant MP4/2. The BT53 represented Brabham's last great stand as an independent innovator before the team's decline later in the decade. It was loud, raw, and uncompromising, a car that burned brightly and briefly, a thrilling expression of 1980s turbo madness that could only have come from Gordon Murray's restless, brilliant mind. The Ferrari 126C4 was a car born into a storm, a product of immense political pressure, technical upheaval, and a factory desperate to hold on to its place at the top of Formula One. Introduced in the 1984 season, it was a complete redesign of Ferrari's turbo concept, following the success of the 126C3 the year before. Mauro Forghieri and Harvey Postlethwaite shaped it around a lighter, stiffer carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb chassis. Ferrari's first real embrace of composite construction, paired with the 1.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 that had evolved into a powerhouse capable of over 800 horsepower in qualifying trim. The 126C4 looked purposeful, low, wide, and aerodynamically tidier than its predecessors, with better cooling and weight distribution. On paper, it should have been a world beater, but in practice, it was inconsistent. A car that could be blisteringly fast one weekend and frustratingly off the pace the next. In the hands of René Arnoux and Michele Alboreto, the 126C4 scored victories and helped Ferrari win the 1984 Constructors' Championship. It was painfully clear that the Scuderia's car lagged behind McLaren's revolutionary MP4/2 in finesse and efficiency. The Ferrari's biggest flaw lay in its turbo response and fuel economy. The car's V6 was powerful but thirsty, forcing the drivers to balance speed against strict fuel limits, while handling was twitchy and unpredictable over long stints. Still, when the boost came alive, the 126C4 was a spectacle, a fiery, aggressive machine that embodied the raw spirit of 1980 Ferrari. It wasn't elegant or forgiving, but it fought with heart and power, capturing podiums through determination as much as design. The 126C4 marked the end of an era for Ferrari before more modern philosophies took hold. A car that mixed brilliance with brutality, and one that proved even in its flaws, Ferrari's passion for racing burned hotter than ever. The Lotus 95T was a car that restored belief, a long overdue return form for one of Formula One's greatest names. Designed by Gérard Ducreux for the 1984 season, it represented the moment Lotus finally shook off years of mediocrity and rediscovered its competitive spirit. Built around a lightweight carbon fiber monocoque and powered by the Renault RE4 turbocharged V6, the 95T combined French engine power with refined British aerodynamics in a package that was elegant, compact, and beautifully balanced. The car's sleek, low-drag bodywork and efficient cooling made it both fast and consistent, while Ducreux's meticulous suspension design gave it composure under ferocious torque of the turbo engine. In the hands of Elio De Angelis and the young Nigel Mansell, it was a genuine frontrunner, often the only car capable of challenging McLaren and Ferrari on pace alone. The 95T didn't win the championship, but it did something almost more important. It made Lotus matter again. De Angelis' victory in Austria, along with a string of podium finishes, reminded the racing world that the team still possessed the innovation and artistry that had once defined it under Colin Chapman. The 95TS handling precision and aerodynamic stability made it one of the most complete cars of 1984. Even if the Renault engine's fuel consumption and reliability occasionally limited its results, it marked the start of Lotus's turbo-era resurgence, paving the way for the even faster 97T and the team's partnership with Ayrton Senna. The 95T stood as a testament to engineering revival and quiet confidence, a car that didn't just race, but rekindled the magic of a legend rediscovering its rhythm. The McLaren MP4/2 was a masterpiece of balance and brilliance, a car that didn't just win championships, but redefined what a Formula One team could achieve when technology, talent, and teamwork aligned perfectly. Designed by John Barner for the 1984 season, it carried forward its pioneering carbon fiber philosophy from the earlier MP4/1 and wrapped around a powerful new tag Porsche 1.5-liter V6 turbo engine. The result was a machine that blended ferocious power with remarkable efficiency, crucial in an era of strict fuel limits. Its aerodynamics were clean and functional rather than flamboyant, with every surface serving purpose over flair. The MP4/2 wasn't the most aggressive car on the grid, but it was the most complete. Fast on any circuit, predictable to drive, and astonishingly reliable. In the hands of Niki Lauda and Alain Prost, it delivered 9 wins and the 1984 Constructors' Championship. with Lotus clinching the driver's title by half a point in one of the closest and most famous finishes in F1 history. What made the MP4/2 truly great was its harmony. Barnard's chassis, the Porsche engine's smooth yet potent turbo delivery, and Michelin's advanced tire development combined into a car that was both powerful and forgiving, a racer's dream. It didn't rely on gimmicks or excess. It was a masterclass in engineering discipline. The car's design was so sound that it evolved through multiple seasons, winning titles again in 1985 and 1986. The MP4/2 became more than just a championship car. It was a symbol of McLaren's transformation into a modern, unstoppable force. It represented the precision of the tag Porsche partnership, the calm genius of Lotus, and the relentless drive of Prost. In a decade defined by wild experimentation, the MP4/2 stood for something rarer. Perfection through control, the art of making immense complexity look effortless. The Renault RE50 was a car caught between brilliance and burnout, a technically ambitious machine that symbolized both the peak and the decline of Renault's pioneering turbo era. Designed by Bernard Dudot and Jean-Claude Migier from the 1984 season, it built upon the elegant foundation of the RE40, but introduced a new carbon fiber monocoque and a heavily revised version of Renault's EF4 twin-turbo V6 engine. On paper, it was formidable, light, powerful, and aerodynamically advanced, producing over 800 horsepower in qualifying trim. Yet in practice, it never found the same magic. The RE50 suffered from chronic reliability issues, particularly with its fragile engine and erratic turbo response, which made it treacherous to drive under fuel-restricted regulations. It was quick enough to take pole positions and lead races, but rarely durable enough to finish them. In the hands of Patrick Tambay and Derek Warwick, the RE50 delivered flashes of the old Renault brilliance, blistering speed, especially on power circuits, but those moments were fleeting. Mechanical failures, electrical glitches, and inconsistent fuel management robbed the team of results, and frustration grew as rivals like McLaren mastered the balance between power and efficiency. Internally, Renault was under pressure. The car's shortcomings exposed the strain of trying to run a factory team while supplying engines to customer outfits. By the end of 1984, the RE50 had become a symbol of unfulfilled potential, a car that should have been a winner, but instead marked the beginning of Renault's withdrawal from Formula One as a constructor. It was beautiful, brave, and technically fascinating, yet ultimately undone by its own ambition. The RE50 remains a bittersweet chapter in Renault's story, a final, defiant display of innovation from the team that had brought the turbo revolution to life. Toleman TG-183B was a car that announced a small team's arrival on Formula One's main stage, a bold, unconventional machine that mixed underdog spirit with surprising sophistication. Designed by Rory Byrne and Pat Simons for the 1983 season, it evolved from the original TG-183 into a more refined, balanced, and competitive car that could finally harness the team's growing technical confidence. Its aluminum monocoque, paired with distinctive twin rear wings and side-mounted radiators, gave a unique aerodynamic profile. Power came from the turbocharged Hart 415T 1.5-liter inline-4, compact, lightweight, and highly stressed, producing over 600 horsepower, but notoriously peaky in delivery. Despite limited resources compared to giants like Ferrari or Brabham, the TG-183BS combination of clever design and tenacity allowed it to fight well above its weight. The car's most famous chapter came in 1984, when a young Ayrton Senna made his Formula One debut driving the updated TG-183B early in the season. In his hands, the car defied expectations, scoring points in only his second race at Kyalami and displaying flashes of brilliance that hinted at future greatness. The TG-183B wasn't easy to drive. Its turbo lag was immense, and its handling could be vicious on bumpy tracks, but it was fast enough to challenge the midfield and occasionally unsettle the frontrunners. More than just a car, it represented Toleman's breakthrough, a small team proving that smart engineering and fearless driving could still shake up the established order. The TG-183B may never have been a race winner, but it carried the kind of raw, defiant energy that makes underdog stories timeless. It was scrappy, original, and full of fight, a car that turned potential into belief. The Williams FW08C was the final evolution of one of the most successful designs of the early 1980s, a car that carried the spirit of simplicity and mechanical excellence, just as Formula One was being consumed by the turbo era. Introduced to the 1983 season, it was an update of the championship-winning FW08, refined to handle the growing competition from turbocharged rivals. Designed by Patrick Head and Frank Durney, the FW08C retained the proven aluminum monocoque and Cosworth DFY V8 engine, a reliable, naturally aspirated power unit producing around 500 horsepower. What it lacked in sheer power compared to the turbo cars, it made up for in balance, tire management, and drivability. Keke Rosberg, ever aggressive and determined, hustled the FW08C to results that far exceeded its paper potential, including podiums and a remarkable win in the rain-soaked 1983 Monaco Grand Prix, a race that showcased both his talent and the car's finesse in low-grip conditions. The FW08C was, in essence, a car fighting against time. By 1983, Formula One's technological landscape had shifted irreversibly toward turbocharged power, and Williams, still relying on the naturally aspirated DFY, was increasingly outgunned on fast circuits. Yet, the FW08C remained beautifully engineered. Compact, well-balanced, and responsive, it could dance through corners with a grace few of its turbo rivals could match. Its clean aerodynamics, mechanical grip, and predictable handling made it a driver's car in the purest sense, one that rewarded finesse over brute strength. Though it marked the end of Williams' DFE-powered era, the FW08C embodied everything that made the team great: engineering discipline, racing intelligence, and unshakable spirit. It was a car that proved even as technology raced ahead, mastery of fundamentals could still keep you in the fight. The Alfa Romeo 185T was a car that promised much, but delivered little. A bold attempt by the Italian team to assert itself in the turbocharged mid-1980s, yet ultimately a study in frustration and unmet potential. Introduced in the 1985 season, it was designed by Mario Tolentino and Giorgio Sturano to replace the 184T, featuring a refined aluminum and carbon fiber monocoque and the ever-potent 1.5-liter twin-turbo V8 engine from Auto Delta. On paper, the 185T was faster, lighter, and more aerodynamic than its predecessor, with tighter packaging and a more aggressive rear wing setup aimed at maximizing downforce. Andrea de Cesaris and Stefan Johansson were tasked with taming its temperamental engine and twitchy handling, hoping to turn flashes of speed into point-scoring performances. In reality, the 185T was plagued by reliability issues, overheating, and inconsistent turbo response. Its handling could be vicious, and mechanical failures were frequent, denying the drivers a chance to capitalize on its potential. Despite occasional bursts of competitiveness, the car was largely unremarkable on a results sheet, symbolizing the gap between Alfa Romeo's ambition and the technical dominance of Ferrari, McLaren, and Williams. Yet the 185T still reflected Alfa's enduring spirit. Beautifully crafted, technically daring, and emotionally resonant, if ultimately flawed. It was a machine that reminded fans why Alfa Romeo had once been a name to fear in Formula One. A car capable of brilliance on the right day, but far too often undone by the realities of the turbo era. The Aeros A7 was a car that embodied the quiet perseverance of a team always striving to compete against far larger rivals. Introduced in the 1985 season and designed by Dave Wass, it was a continuation of Aeros' incremental evolution, built around a sturdy aluminum monocoque and powered by the naturally aspirated Ford Cosworth DFE engine. While the turbocharged giant of the era were producing over 700 horsepower, the A7 made do with roughly 500, relying on balance, mechanical grip, and intelligent packaging to remain competitive. Its aerodynamics were clean and understated, prioritizing stability and predictability rather than sheer speed, which made it a reliable, if unspectacular, platform for drivers like Thierry Boutsen and Mark Schur to extract consistent performance. The A7 story is one of resilience rather than triumph. It rarely threatened the front-runners, but gave Aeros a chance to continue developing their engineering knowledge and gain valuable data for future cars. In a time when turbo power was dominating the sport, the A7's simplicity and reliability were virtues in themselves, allowing the team to finish races and occasionally score points. It was not flashy and it never won, but it represented the determination of a smaller team to stay relevant in Formula One's increasingly expensive and technologically advanced world. The A7 was modest, intelligent, and persistent, a testament to Aero's enduring grit and the understated side of racing achievement. The Benetton B185 was a car that captured the promise of a young team hungry to prove itself in Formula One's turbo-dominated mid-1980s. Designed by Rory Byrne for the 1985 season, it was Benetton's first serious attempt at creating a competitive car, combining intelligent aerodynamics with a reliable, naturally aspirated Ford Cosworth DFV engine. The chassis was a neat aluminum monocoque, carefully packaged to maximize weight distribution and handling precision, although it lacked the raw power of the turbocharged Ferraris, BMWs, and Renaults. The B185 was nimble, responsive, and often more consistent over a race distance. Teo Fabi, Gerhard Berger, and Pierluigi Martini were tasked with bringing every ounce of performance in the car, and while outright victories were out of reach, the B185 regularly allowed Benetton to challenge midfield rivals and score valuable points. The B185's greatest achievement lay in its role as a stepping stone for a team that would later dominate F1 in the 1990s. It taught Benetton the importance of chassis balance, aerodynamics, and reliability in a period where turbo power often overshadowed driving skill. The car's compact design and predictable handling allowed the drivers to push hard without being punished excessively by mechanical fragility, which was a crucial advantage for a young team still learning the ropes. While the B185 never threatened the front of the grid, it represented Benetton's engineering ambition and strategic thinking, a quietly intelligent car that laid the foundation for the team's future successes. It was a car of potential, promise, and steady progress, the kind of understated machine that often goes unnoticed but is vital to long-term achievement in Formula One. The Ferrari 156/85, often referred to as a 126C4B in its evolution, was a car born out of necessity and adaptation in the mid-1980s turbo era. Introduced for the 1985 season as an evolution of the 126C4, it carried forward Ferrari's twin-turbocharged V6 engine, now slightly detuned for better reliability and fuel efficiency, in a season defined by fuel restrictions and the unforgiving nature of turbo power. Mauro Forghieri and Harvey Postlethwaite refined the chassis, improving rigidity, weight distribution, and aerodynamic efficiency. The car retained the aggressive, purposeful lines of its predecessor, but incorporated subtle updates to suspension, side pods, and cooling that reflected Ferrari's ongoing learning curve in managing turbodynamics. René Arnoux and Michel Alboreto piloted the machine, tasked with balancing sheer speed against fragile reliability. In practice, the 156/85 was a mixed bag, fast when it stayed healthy, yet prone to mechanical gremlins that robbed of consistency. Its turbo V6 delivered blistering power on straights, but the car required careful handling in corners and meticulous fuel management over race distances. Despite these limitations, Ferrari managed to score multiple podiums and maintain a competitive presence against the dominant McLaren MP4/2S, showcasing the team's resilience and technical acumen. The 156/85/126C4B wasn't a championship-winning machine, but it exemplified Ferrari's ability to adapt and survive in an era dominated by technological extremes. It was powerful, passionate, and characteristically Italian, flawed yet strikingly competitive, a car that captured both the drama and the ambition of mid-80s Formula One. The Lotus 97T was a car that finally returned Lotus to the sharp end of Formula One, a blend of raw power, precision engineering, and bold design that captured the team's competitive spirit in the mid-1980s. Introduced for the 1985 season, it was designed by Gérard Ducrouge and Martin Ogilvy and powered by the Renault EF15 1.5-liter turbocharged V6 engine, producing around 750 horsepower in race trim. The car featured a compact carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, low-drag aerodynamics, and refined suspension geometry, giving it a balance of agility that few rivals could match. Its sharp handling and explosive turbo power made it a perfect tool for Elio De Angelis and a young Ayrton Senna, who joined the team that year. Senna's daring driving style and Angelis' smooth precision combined with the car's capabilities to make Lotus a consistent contender, scoring multiple victories and podiums throughout the season. What made the 97T special wasn't just its speed, but its responsiveness and character. The car could be savage under boost, yet rewarding for drivers who understood its nuances, blending the thrill of raw turbo power with control of a finely tuned chassis. Senna's win in the rain-soaked 1985 Portuguese Grand Prix and multiple podiums demonstrated that the 97T was capable of brilliance, even against McLaren's dominant MP4/2. It marked a turning point for Lotus, a statement that the team could still innovate, challenge, and succeed at the highest level. The 97T was aggressive, intelligent, and exhilarating to drive, embodying the very essence of mid-80s turbo Formula One. Power, precision, and the promise of greatness in every lap. The Renault RE60 was a car that embodied both ambition and struggle, a reflection of a team caught between innovation and the brutal realities amid 1980s Formula One. Introduced to the 1985 season and designed by Michel Tetu and Bernard Dudat, it represented Renault's ongoing development of its turbocharged technology, featuring the EF15B 1.5-liter twin-turbo V6 engine producing over 800 horsepower in qualifying trim. The RE60 carried forward the lessons of the RE50, with a stiffer carbon fiber monocoque, refined aerodynamics, and improved weight distribution intended to handle the increasingly fierce turbo competition. Alain Prost, now fully established as Renault's lead driver, was tasked with extracting maximum performance, while René Arnoux and Patrick Tambay provided additional feedback for development. In practice, the RE60 was fast but notoriously temperamental. Its turbo power could overwhelm the chassis, making it twitchy under acceleration, and reliability remained a chronic issue. Engine failures, electrical problems, and turbo gremlins were a constant threat. Despite moments of brilliance, such as competitive qualifying runs and occasional podiums, the RE60 was unable to consistently challenge the McLaren MP4/2B or Ferrari F1 Yet it reflected Renault's willingness to innovate and push the envelope in the turbo era, combining advanced engineering with the raw power that had defined the team's reputation. The RE60 was not a car of dominance, but one of learning and perseverance, a symbol of manufacturers striving to remain relevant in a rapidly evolving, brutally competitive Formula One landscape. TRL 014 was a car born in a period of transition and challenge for one of Formula One's most respected privateer teams. Introduced in the 1985 season, it was designed by Maurice Philippe and represented TRL's attempt to stay competitive in a grid increasingly dominated by turbocharged machines. The 014 retained the team's reliance on a naturally aspirated Cosworth DFE V8 engine, which, while reliable, was now underpowered compared to Ferrari, Renault, and McLaren turbos. The car featured an aluminum monocoque with carefully refined aerodynamics, aiming to maximize mechanical grip and driver confidence. Michel Alboreto and Martin Brundle were charged with exploiting every ounce of performance, and despite the car's limitations, the 014 delivered moments of competitiveness, particularly on tighter circuits where turbo power was less dominant. While it rarely challenged for wins, the 014 embodied the resilience and ingenuity of a small team operating on limited resources. Its handling was predictable and driver-friendly, allowing Alboreto and Brundle to consistently finish races and extract points when others faltered. The car reflected TRL's philosophy of maximizing fundamentals, chassis balance, suspension precision, and reliability, at a time when sheer horsepower often overshadowed finesse. The Williams FW10 was a car that marked a bold new chapter for a team on the cusp of turbo-era relevance, combining innovation with a steady hand of constructor learning from past successes. Introduced in the 1985 season and designed by Patrick Head, the FW10 featured a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, a continuation of Williams' focus on lightweight, stiff chassis construction. Power came from the reliable, naturally aspirated Ford Cosworth DFE V8, producing around 500 horsepower, which was modest compared to the turbocharged rivals dominating the front of the grid. Despite this, the FW10 was agile, well-balanced, and highly responsive, with aerodynamics that favored stability and driver confidence. Drivers Keke Rosberg and Nigel Mansell were able to extract impressive performance from it, especially on circuits that require precision and mechanical grip over sheer speed. The FW10's legacy lies in its combination of reliability, balance, and thoughtful engineering. It was not a championship contender, but allowed Williams to maintain competitiveness during a period when smaller, naturally aspirated teams were being eclipsed by turbo power. Its predictable handling and robust construction meant consistent finishes and occasional points, reinforcing the team's reputation for building intelligent, driver-friendly cars. The FW10 may not have turned heads with outright speed, but exemplified Williams' meticulous approach to engineering and racercraft, bridging the gap between the DFE era and the team's eventual dominance with Honda turbos. It was a car built for resilience and development, a quiet but essential step in the evolution of a team destined for greatness. The Benetton B186 was a car that reflected a young team's growing confidence and technical maturity in the mid-1980s. Introduced for the 1986 season and designed by Rory Byrne, it built on the experience gained from the B185, combining a lightweight aluminum monocoque with refined aerodynamics and clever packaging. The car was powered by the naturally aspirated Ford Cosworth DFE V8 engine, which, while increasingly outmatched by the turbocharged frontrunners, was reliable and predictable. Its design emphasized balance, handling precision and mechanical grip, allowing drivers Theo Fabi, Gerhard Berger, and Johnny Dumfries to extract consistent performance and occasionally challenge the midfield. The B186 may not have been capable of front-running victories, but it gave Benetton a platform to compete with credibility and continue developing its engineering expertise. What made the B186 important was its role as a learning car. In an era dominated by turbocharged power, the B186's consistency and drivability allowed the team to gain invaluable experience in aerodynamics, chassis setup, and race strategy. Its predictable nature rewarded intelligent driving and careful management, rather than sheer force, making it a solid, competitive tool for the team's talented roster. The car laid the groundwork for future Benetton success, demonstrating that a well-engineered, naturally aspirated machine could still make an impact in a turbo-heavy grid. The B186 was not flashy or dominant, but it was smart, resilient, and a vital stepping stone in Benetton's rise toward becoming a serious Formula One contender. The Ferrari F1/86 was a car that carried the weight of expectation and tradition, a machine designed to keep the Scuderia competitive during the brutal turbo era of Formula One. Introduced in the 1986 season, it was an evolution of the 126C4B, crafted under the guidance of Mauro Forghieri and Harvey Postlethwaite. The F1/86 featured a stiffer and more compact carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, improved suspension geometry, and refined aerodynamics aimed at maximizing downforce and stability. Power came from Ferrari's 1.5-liter twin-turbo V6 engine, capable of over 800 horsepower in qualifying trim, yet demanding careful management to avoid fuel depletion and mechanical failure. Michele Alboreto and Stefan Johansson piloted the car, tasked with balancing the fiery engine's raw power against a chassis that, while improved, could still be twitchy and unpredictable in high-speed corners. Despite its technical sophistication, the F1/86 struggled to consistently challenge McLaren's MP4/2C and Williams' emerging turbo contenders. Its speed was undeniable on certain circuits, and it claimed several podiums, but reliability issues and fuel consumption limited its effectiveness over full race distances. Nevertheless, the car showcased Ferrari's relentless pursuit of competitiveness, blending power, aggression, and Italian engineering flair. The F1/86 may not have been a championship-winning machine, but it was a testament to Ferrari's resilience and innovation in an era of extreme turbo evolution. A car that combined raw pace with style, embodying both the drama and ambition amid 80s Formula One. The Lotus 98T was a car that announced Lotus becoming a serious contention, blending raw power with refined chassis design to create a truly competitive package. Introduced in the 1986 season, it was designed by Gerard Ducrouge and powered by the Renault RE15B 1.5-liter turbocharged V6 engine, producing roughly 850 horsepower in qualifying trim. The car featured a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, improved aerodynamics with high downforce efficiency, and carefully tuned suspension that allowed it to exploit the immense turbo power without overwhelming the tires. Ayrton Senna and Satoru Nakajima were behind the wheel, and it quickly became apparent that the 98T could mix it with the front runners, thanks to its sharp handling and explosive straight-line speed. Senna's fearless driving style perfectly matched the car's temperament, allowing him to extract performances that few other drivers could match. The 98T wasn't flawless. It demanded constant attention to turbo boost management and fuel strategy, and reliability could be an issue, but it was fast, responsive, and exhilarating to drive. Senna's wins in Detroit and Monaco, along with several other podiums, demonstrated the car's competitiveness and Lotus's engineering resurgence. The 98T exemplified the marriage of driver skill and technical excellence, a car that rewarded daring and precision alike. In many ways, it was a statement that Lotus, after years of struggle, could still innovate and compete at the highest level. The 98T combined the thrill of raw turbo power with refined handling, making it one of the standout cars amid 80s Formula One. The McLaren MP4/2C was a car that perfectly exemplified the dominance of McLaren in the mid-1980s turbo era, a machine that combined engineering brilliance with race-winning consistency. Introduced for the 1986 season as an evolution of the championship-winning MP4/2B, it was designed by John Barnard and carried the proven tag Porsche 1.5-liter V6 turbo engine, producing over 850 horsepower in qualifying trim. The C specification brought refinements to aerodynamics, suspension, and chassis stiffness, enhancing stability, responsiveness, and drivability over a race distance. Niki Lauda and Alain Prost exploited the car's smooth power delivery and balanced handling to perfection, with the MP4/2C offering unmatched reliability and consistency in an era when turbo power often created unpredictable results. On track, the MP4/2C was devastatingly effective. It secured multiple wins and podiums throughout the season, demonstrating the combination of raw speed, fuel efficiency, and chassis precision that made it almost untouchable. Its turbo engine delivered explosive straight-line performance, but the car's true genius lay in how controllable and predictable it was under pressure, a rare quality when competitors struggle with sudden turbo surges and fragile components. The MP4/2C was more than just a car. It was a statement of McLaren's methodical engineering, strategic thinking, and ability to extract maximum performance from both machine and driver. In a decade defined by experimentation and extremes, the MP4/2C stood as a benchmark for excellence, reliability, and complete racing harmony. The Williams FW11 was a car that defined dominance in the turbo era, a perfect fusion of engineering sophistication, raw power, and driver skill. Introduced for the 1986 season and designed by Patrick Head and Frank Durney, it featured carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque and the mighty Honda RA166 1.5-liter turbo V6 engine, producing over 800 horsepower in race trim and exceeding 1,000 in qualifying. Its aerodynamics were clean and efficient, with well-balanced downforce that allowed it to harness the engine's immense power without becoming unstable. Nelson Piquet and Nigel Mansell were the drivers tasked with exploiting the FW11's capabilities, and the car rewarded their talent with a combination of blistering speed, predictability in corners, and strong reliability, a rare mix in the volatile turbo era. On track, the FW11 was almost untouchable. Piquet secured the 1986 Drivers' Championship, while Williams comfortably claimed Constructors' title, underscoring the car's superiority. Its Honda turbo delivered explosive acceleration, yet the chassis and suspension were engineered to keep that power manageable, giving the drivers confidence to push hard lap after lap. The FW11 wasn't just fast. It was intelligent engineering in motion, marrying brute force with finesse. It became an icon of mid-1980s Formula One, demonstrating how meticulous design, innovative technology, and top-tier driving could combine to create a car that dominated both in pace and in legacy. The FW11 was a benchmark, a car that set the standard for what a turbo F1 machine could achieve. The Benetton B187 was a car that symbolized the team's steady rise from midfield contenders to genuine challengers in Formula One. Introduced for the 1987 season and designed by Rory Byrne, it featured a lightweight aluminum monocoque, refined aerodynamics, and careful attention to balance and handling. Power came from a Ford Cosworth DFZ 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V8, which, while less powerful than the turbocharged rivals still on the grid, offered predictable performance and reliability. Drivers Cherry Boutsen and Teo Fabi were able to exploit the car's nimbleness and mechanical grip, allowing it to score consistent points and occasionally challenge other midfield teams. The B187 reflected a team gaining confidence in its engineering approach, blending simplicity, intelligence, and competitiveness in a transitional era of Formula One. The car's significance lay in its ability to teach Benetton how to maximize performance from a naturally aspirated chassis, while keeping pace with the evolving turbo technologies around it. Its predictable handling and efficient packaging made it a driver-friendly machine, rewarding precision and consistency rather than raw power. While it was never a race winner, the B187 laid the groundwork for the team's future success, providing vital experience in chassis design, aerodynamics, and race strategy. It represented Benetton's ambition, discipline, and growing technical maturity. A solid, reliable, and intelligent car that quietly helped the team rise toward the top tier of Formula One. The Ferrari F1/87 was a car that reflected both evolution and urgency for Scuderia, a team determined to stay competitive as turbo power reached its peak in Formula One. Introduced to the 1987 season and designed by Harvey Postlethwaite and Gustav Brunner, it featured a refined carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, improved suspension geometry, and aerodynamics optimized for both speed and stability. At its heart was Ferrari's 1.5-liter turbocharged V6 engine, capable of producing over 900 horsepower in qualifying trim, but requiring careful fuel management and delicate handling to survive a full race distance. Michele Alboreto and Stefan Johansson were tasked with harnessing its ferocious power, balancing aggression and control, as the car challenged rivals, such as the dominant Williams FW11B and McLaren MP4/3. On the track, the F1/87 was competitive but inconsistent, capable of impressive qualifying pace and strong race performances, yet often undermined by reliability and the challenge of managing turbo boost under the strict fuel limits of the era. The car showcased Ferrari's technical expertise and continued ambition, blending raw power with the craftsmanship and design precision the team was known for. While it did win the championship, the F1/87 secured several podiums and kept Ferrari in the fight, proving that even under the intense pressures of late 1980s F1, the Scuderia remained a team of innovation, passion, and relentless pursuit of speed. The F1/87 was fast, aggressive, and characteristically Italian, a car that carried Ferrari's racing spirit forward in an era dominated by turbo escalation. The McLaren MP4/3 was a car that perfectly captured the peak of McLaren's mid-1980s dominance, blending advanced engineering with raw turbo power to create a championship-winning machine. Introduced to the 1987 season and designed by John Barnard, it carried forward the revolutionary carbon fiber monocoque philosophy while integrating the TAG Porsche 1.5-liter V6 turbo engine, producing over 850 horsepower in race trim and more than 1,000 in qualifying. The car's aerodynamics were refined for both high-speed stability and cornering efficiency, while its suspension and chassis design gave Niki Lauda and Alain Prost exceptional confidence and control. The MP4/3 wasn't just fast. It was precise, predictable, and reliable, allowing McLaren to consistently challenge and often dominate the competition throughout the season. On the track, the MP4/3 proved its brilliance with multiple wins, pole positions, and a tightly fought championship battle, showcasing the synergy between engineering perfection and elite driver skill. Its turbocharged engine delivered explosive acceleration, yet the car remained manageable thanks to Barnard's meticulous design, giving Lauda and Prost the ability to push hard without being punished by sudden turbo surges or unpredictable handling. The MP4/3 became an icon of 1980s Formula One, demonstrating that innovation, discipline, and attention to detail could produce a car capable of sustained dominance. It was fast, intelligent, and fearsome, a machine that combined the raw thrill of turbo power with the sophistication of modern engineering, cementing McLaren's status as a benchmark team of the era. The Williams FW11B was a car that epitomized the dominance and technical mastery of the late 1980s turbo era, a machine that combined brute power with impeccable engineering. Introduced to the 1987 season and developed by Patrick Head and Frank Durney, it was an evolution of the championship-winning FW11, featuring a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque and powered by the Honda RA167 E1.5-liter turbo V6 engine, capable of producing over 900 horsepower in qualifying trim. Its aerodynamics were finely tuned for downforce and stability, while the suspension and chassis balance allowed Nelson Piquet and Nigel Mansell to exploit the car's immense power with confidence. The FW11B was not only fast in a straight line, but also precise and predictable through corners, a crucial advantage in an era where turbo surges could easily unsettle a car. On track, the FW11B was devastatingly effective. Piquet secured the 1987 Drivers' Championship, while Williams claimed Constructors' title, a testament to the car's reliability, speed, and versatility across circuits. Its Honda turbo delivered explosive acceleration, but the genius of the FW11B lay in how controllable and responsive it was under extreme conditions, allowing the drivers to consistently extract maximum performance. The car represented the pinnacle of Williams' technical expertise and strategic thinking, marrying raw horsepower with refined engineering. The FW11B wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of dominance, demonstrating how meticulous design, powerful engines, and top-tier driving to combine to create a Formula One machine capable of defining an era. 1988. The Ferrari F1/87/88C was a car that bridged two turbulent years for Scuderia, reflecting both the evolution of Ferrari's turbo program and the team's relentless pursuit of competitiveness in a fiercely contested era. Originally introduced as the F1/87 for the 1987 season, and later developed into the F1/87/88C for 1988, the car featured a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, refined aerodynamics, and improved suspension geometry to handle the increasing power of the turbocharged 1.5-liter V6 engine. Michel Alboreto and Gerhard Berger piloted the machine, tasked with balancing the immense turbo boost, often exceeding 1,000 horsepower in qualifying, with the limitations of fuel consumption and reliability. The F1/87/88C was aggressive, responsive, and unmistakably Ferrari, a car that demanded precision and courage from its drivers while showcasing the team's engineering flair. On the track, the car was fast and capable of challenging the front-runners on occasion, securing podiums and occasionally threatening victories, but was never able to consistently match the dominance of McLaren MP4/4 or the Williams FW11B. Reliability issues, tricky handling under turbo boost, and the challenge of balancing speed with fuel management meant that the F1/87/88C often shone brightest in flashes of brilliance rather than sustained performance. Nevertheless, the car embodied Ferrari's determination to innovate and compete in an era defined by turbo escalation. It was powerful, fiery, and uncompromising, a machine that carried the legacy and passion of Scuderia forward even when the odds were stacked against it. The F1/87/88C stood as a symbol of Ferrari's resilience, ambition, and enduring presence at the sharp edge of Formula One. The Lotus 100T was a car that represented both ambition and challenge, a bold attempt by Lotus to compete at the very front of Formula One during the turbo-dominated late 1980s. Introduced for the 1988 season and designed by Gérard Ducrouge, it featured a carbon fiber monocoque, advanced aerodynamics, and the potent Honda RA168 1.5-liter turbocharged V6 engine, producing around 650 to 700 horsepower in race trim and well over 1,000 in qualifying. Ayrton Senna and Satoru Nakajima were at the wheel, tasked with harnessing the immense turbo power while dealing with the car's notorious sensitivity. The 100T combined raw speed with cutting-edge technology, but also demanded absolute precision and courage, with the car's chassis, suspension, and active aerodynamics pushing the limits of what drivers could control on track. Despite its potential, the 100T proved temperamental and often difficult to extract maximum performance from. While Senna occasionally displayed flashes of brilliance, the car struggled with handling consistency, turbo lag, and reliability issues, limiting its ability to challenge the dominant McLaren MP4/4. Nevertheless, the 100T showcased Lotus's determination to innovate and stay competitive, pushing the boundaries of turbo technology and chassis design. It was a car of extremes, fast, daring, and technically sophisticated, yet fragile and exacting. The 100T remains a symbol of Lotus's ambition during the turbo era, a machine that can inspire awe when driven to its limits, even if it could not always deliver the results that its talent promised. The McLaren MP4/4 was more than just a car. It was a revolution, a machine that redefined dominance in Formula One and set new standards for design, engineering, and performance. Introduced for the 1988 season and designed by Gordon Murray and Steve Nichols, it featured a sleek carbon fiber monocoque, ultra-low profile aerodynamics, and the legendary Honda RA168 1.5-liter turbocharged V6 engine, producing around 650 to 700 horsepower in race trim and well over 1,000 in qualifying. The car was astonishingly balanced and responsive, giving Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost a platform to exploit every advantage, from precision cornering to explosive acceleration on the straights. Its low-slung design, coupled with meticulous attention to weight distribution and mechanical grip, made the MP4/4 not just fast, but overwhelmingly dominant on track. The MP4/4 was virtually untouchable, winning 15 of the 16 races in the 1988 season and securing both the Constructors' and Drivers' Championships with ease. Senna's 9 victories and Prost's 7 demonstrated the car's extraordinary combination of power, reliability, and drivability. Every element of the MP4/4, from its carbon fiber chassis to its advanced turbo engine and aerodynamic efficiency, worked in perfect harmony, creating a car that could extract the maximum from its drivers in any condition. It wasn't just a race-winning car. It was a statement of technical brilliance, team coordination, and the art of combining innovation with reliability. The MP4/4 remains one of the most iconic and fierce machines in Formula One history, a symbol of perfection in the turbo era and the zenith of McLaren's dominance. The Tyrrell 016 was a car that reflected the challenges and perseverance of a team striving to remain relevant in the late 1980s turbo era. Introduced for the 1987 season and designed by Maurice Philippe, it retained the team's reliance on the naturally aspirated Cosworth DFZ V8 engine, which, while reliable, was now significantly underpowered compared to the dominant turbocharged cars from Honda, Ferrari, and Renault. The chassis featured an aluminum monocoque with aerodynamic refinements aimed at improving high-speed stability and mechanical grip, allowing drivers Jonathan Palmer and Philippe Streif to extract consistent performance. The 016 was nimble and predictable, qualities that helped the team stay competitive in the midfield despite the power deficit. On track, the 016 was rarely a contender for wins, but often finished races where others faltered, scoring points through persistence and clever racercraft. Its handling rewarded precision and smooth driving, and while it lacked the outright speed of turbo rivals, it exemplified Tyrrell's philosophy of maximizing fundamentals, balance, reliability, and intelligent design. The 016 was a bridge between the team's glory days and the increasingly turbo-centric future of Formula One. A reminder that skillful engineering and driver talent could still make a difference in a grid dominated by horsepower. It was a modest car in performance, but significant in its representation of Tyrrell's resilience and ingenuity. The Williams FW12 was a car that captured both the ambition and growing pains of a team transitioning into the turbo era of Formula One. Introduced for the 1988 season and designed by Patrick Head and Neil Oatley, it was a bold step forward in terms of chassis design, featuring a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque that aimed to balance rigidity, lightness, and aerodynamic efficiency. The car was powered by the naturally aspirated Judd CV 3.5-liter V8, which, while smooth and reliable, lacked the sheer horsepower of the turbocharged rivals dominating the grid. Drivers Thierry Boutsen and Riccardo Patrese were tasked with exploiting the FW12's balance and handling, and while it offered predictable and controllable platform, the power deficit made podiums a rarity. Despite its limitations, the FW12 represented a learning car for Williams, a bridge between their dominant turbo era with Honda and the challenges of naturally aspirated engines under new regulations. Its handling was praised for its responsiveness, and it allowed the team to experiment with aerodynamics and suspension concepts that would inform future designs. While the FW12 was not a front-runner, it was reliable and intelligent, scoring points consistently when rivals faltered. The car exemplified Williams' methodical engineering approach, focusing on balance, driver confidence, and steady development, even in an era increasingly defined by the might of turbo engines. It was a solid, if unspectacular, car that laid the groundwork for Williams' later success in the naturally aspirated era. The Ferrari 640, often seen as an evolution of the F1/88C, was a car that reflected Ferrari's ambition to remain competitive during the late 1980s turbo era, while laying the groundwork for the coming naturally aspirated regulations. Introduced in 1989 as the F1/88C update, it featured carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque, improved aerodynamics, and a refined suspension setup designed to handle the demanding circuits of the era. Its 1.5-liter turbocharged V6 engine remained potent, delivering immense power, well over 700 horsepower in race trim, but required careful management of boost and fuel consumption. The car was driven by Michele Alboreto and Nigel Mansell, both of whom had to balance the ferocious turbo output with the car's sensitivity and occasional unpredictability. On track, the Ferrari 640/F1/88C update was competitive but not dominant, capable of strong qualifying positions and podiums when reliability and strategy aligned. Its handling was precise but could be tricky at the limit, especially under high turbo boost, demanding exceptional skill from the drivers. The car symbolized Ferrari's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure, combining raw Italian power with engineering finesse. While it did not claim championships, it served as an important evolutionary step, bridging Ferrari's late ADS turbo experience with the upcoming naturally aspirated era. It was a car of potential and character, powerful, passionate, and a reminder of Ferrari's enduring presence at the sharp end of Formula One. The McLaren MP4/5 was a car that marked the transition from turbo dominance to the naturally aspirated era, a machine that combined refined engineering with a focus on balance, drivability, and outright speed. Introduced to the 1989 season and designed by Steve Nichols and Gordon Murray, it featured carbon fiber monocoque and was powered by the newly developed naturally aspirated Honda RE109 E3.5-liter V10 engine, producing around 675 to 700 horsepower. The car's aerodynamics were clean and efficient, with careful attention to weight distribution and suspension geometry, making it highly responsive and predictable for its drivers. Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost exploited the MP4/5's exceptional handling, with Senna's fearless precision and Prost's strategic intelligence perfectly matched to the car's capabilities. On track, the MP4/5 was a class above its competition, securing multiple victories, pole positions, and ultimately helping McLaren claim both Constructors' and Drivers' Championships in 1989. Its V10 engine delivered a thrilling mix of power and reliability, while the chassis and aerodynamics allowed it to be fast across all types of circuits. The car represented a seamless blend of innovation and experience, demonstrating that McLaren could adapt to the new naturally aspirated regulations without losing dominance. The MP4/5 was not just fast. It was brilliantly balanced, intuitive to drive, and technically sophisticated. A car that perfectly embodied McLaren's engineering excellence and strategic mastery at the dawn of the turbo-free era. The Williams FW12C was a car that symbolized both resilience and adaptation during a transitional period for the team and Formula One. Introduced to the 1989 season as an evolution of the FW12, it featured a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque and was powered by the naturally aspirated Judd CV 3.5-liter V8 engine, producing roughly 650 to 670 horsepower. The FW12C incorporated updated aerodynamics, refined suspension geometry, and improved weight distribution, aiming to make the car more responsive and competitive in an era increasingly dominated by teams with powerful V10 engines. Thierry Boutsen and Riccardo Patrese piloted the machine, exploiting its balance and predictability on circuits where mechanical grip and driver skill could offset its power deficit. On track, the FW12C was not a frontrunner, but delivered reliable performances and occasional points finishes, demonstrating Williams' methodical engineering approach. Its chassis was praised for its responsiveness and stability, allowing drivers to extract consistent lap times even against stronger competition. While it lacked the outright speed of McLaren or Ferrari, the FW12C represented a team learning to adapt to the new naturally aspirated era while maintaining competitiveness. It was a car of intelligence and resilience, a solid platform that kept Williams relevant and provided critical experience that would inform their future championship-winning designs in the 1990s. The Lotus 101 was a car that reflected both ambition and challenge, a machine designed during a difficult period for the team in the early 1990s. Introduced to the 1989 season and designed by Frank Durney, it featured a carbon fiber and aluminum monocoque with aerodynamics aimed at maximizing downforce while maintaining stability and predictability. Power came from a naturally aspirated Ford Cosworth DFR 3.5-liter V8 engine, which, while reliable and smooth, struggled to match the output of the dominant Honda, Ferrari, and Renault engines. Drivers Nelson Piquet and Satoru Nakajima had to exploit the car's balance and handling to remain competitive, often relying on precision and consistency rather than raw pace. On track, the 101 was rarely a race winner, but it allowed Lotus to remain in the midfield and continue developing their engineering expertise. Its predictable handling and responsive chassis rewarded skilled driving, and while it lacked the horsepower to challenge victories, it often finished races where more powerful rivals faltered. The car demonstrated Lotus's determination to innovate and adapt during a transitional period in Formula One, emphasizing the importance of balance, reliability, and driver confidence. The 101 may not have been dominant, but it was a solid, intelligent machine that kept Lotus relevant and provided a foundation for the team's subsequent designs.